thought process I had for this game, um, to me was kind of simple. To me, I've in my I thought Cho'Gath was probably gonna lose lane, but he's kind of like a scaling tank anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for some reason I feel like bot lane has the most carry potential for some reason. So I've just been playing towards bot just about every game possible.
Okay, so you're just
Um,
saying in general you think bot lane.
yeah,
Yeah.
it feels like in general, like what ends up happening is if I just keep pathing bot side, I am able to have a stronger bot lane and there's less tilt on the team. And I'd rather have one tilted player top lane than two tilted players bottom lane. And because I need the support for vision and I need the AD carry to have sustained damage, and top lane, like 9 times out of 10 you're either a tank or you're a split pusher, and like I don't know. And like regardless, Cho is gonna scale, and I wasn't gonna worry about it. On top of that, I knew I had to invade Fiddle, because he has both our mid laners are poor early game, so I have the ability to invade him without really getting that like punished by a GP.
Mm-hmm.
So he has a weaker top side than he does bot side. So originally, if I play Udyr and I start on, if I'm on the red side team, I usually try to like potentially invade his blue, or like invade blue early, and try to steal blue and Gromp, because I could take those really quickly without using smite, and then transition over. But
So are you starting? You're saying you start at his blue, or you're gonna do like a red side to his blue side kind of thing?
so in general, like if I am starting on the red team, I do try to do a cheeky start on their blue and Gromp, and sneak those two if I can. If I can't, I just start red side and red buff and path down.
Okay.
But the issue is I also didn't want to force a vertical jungle. If it was somehow warded, and me forcing a vertical jungle, I think would have been bad, because then
Your bot lane's probably gonna get absolutely railed.
yeah. So it's like, okay, well, but I also don't want to invade him on his red side, because it's like he has a better bot lane to rotate than than anything. So it was really funny how it played out. So I actually didn't know, you could play it, but I actually didn't know he was gonna start blue, which was really weird for me to think he was gonna start blue, since he takes
Yeah, usually
Gromp
Fiddle
pretty
starts.
slow. But
Usually Fiddle starts red side, but
yeah, but Cho was doing some wacky stuff and invading, which drew attention to him and everybody. And I was trying to back him up too. So they're trying to do some cheeky invade on my blue side.
okay. So bot side, they're invading.
Yeah,
You don't see Fiddlesticks,
no.
and then Cho'Gath is completely griefing.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, what is he doing? So like, I don't mind like stealing his blue and Gromp if he doesn't know about it, so it doesn't automatically force a vertical jungle.
Mm-hmm.
But he apparently warded it there anyways.
The only problem that I see with this here is you guys are like pretty weak level 1. So like once you're spotted, you pretty much just have to bounce.
Exactly.
Because GP is actually OP level 1, and Fiddlesticks too actually. Fiddlesticks is pretty OP level 1. Like you can never kill him basically with his W.
His W, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no way for me to stop his W either, especially
Yeah.
with Red Tiger.
Udyr is pretty bad level 1. So all those things consideration. I don't know. I don't really like the early invades on Udyr. I get you if you can get it like without them knowing. Then
I think
definitely yeah.
I think I pull it off like 60% of games.
Okay.
Because like top laners usually don't guard.
Yeah, they don't.
And sometimes, if at most, the junglers are so used to warding the pixel and the river side that I just path towards tribush top and around, so I avoid that pixel and steal it. If the top laner is, if top laner is there, that yeah, I'm out.
Gotcha.
Goodbye.
Yeah, I don't hate it. It's just I guess not my preferred playstyle.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm pretty much just I do like getting an early deep ward though. Was this your ward?
That
This was
was
your ward.
my ward because I usually ward right there if I'm going to take blue and Gromp.
Just so you could see if he's coming, kind of thing.
Correct, yeah. So I think I just placed it there up on like default, but I should have placed it on like towards like.
I like right here. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's still fine because you'll see him if he walks this
Yeah.
way.
I just didn't know
yeah.
he was going to start blue. Oh, I mean, I should have assumed because I saw him there, and I just was just being dumb, not realizing that he was going to start blue.
Well, since you saw him here, right, and you have this ward,
Yeah.
there's nowhere else for him to go, right?
Right. I just didn't think about it. So my next step here, you'll probably be questioning what I'm doing. So, but
The only thing from this position now is your Cho'Gath is pretty screwed.
yeah, which I was gonna leave him dry. I was planning on leaving him dry anyways because I kind of have to.
But now, like, it's gonna. The problem is that, because I agree with your thought process, but I think the only thing that you're missing here is that Yorick is actually probably the easiest gank out of all of these people,
Yeah.
especially early game.
Yeah.
So if this was me, I probably would have started bot side and just path top and tried to kill this guy early. If not, at least just get some pressure off them until your bot lane is like level 3, and then I would gank bot on my way back down, kind of thing.
From my experience, I almost always can't really gank an Ezreal until he gets like Sheen or like something like with like because a lot of them go back at tier and they usually don't have damage to like get Sheen. And like normally if I wasn't like I agree I would probably would have started blue. I would have passed towards top side, maybe potentially invade his blue side because I know by the time I clear my blue quadrant up to my red side, he will probably be on his way to his blue, and he'll have red. I won't have red buff, but I'm pretty sure I can kill him at his blue.
I'm not sure. The problem that I see with like invading a Fiddlesticks is that it's pretty impossible to kill him, especially if this GP is competent, because I don't think you're gonna have mid prio, unless like I don't know about.
I did not have mid prio. This guy, I had no prio mid, and it was like the only prio I had was bot side, and it's only because I ganked them 2 times in a row and they started getting prio. So
okay. But just a kind of rule of thumb, I think invading is more dependent on your laners than the actual jungle matchup, because
that's fair.
Because I think that a champion, especially like Fiddlesticks, he's kind of like a stand your ground type of champion. You know what I mean? Like you could either just, let's say you're playing like a Lee Sin or something into Udyr. I would probably invade Lee Sin, even though Lee Sin is kind of considered like a early game jungler. He can never really kill you as an Udyr, right? Like you can kind of just run him down, and he has really long cooldowns, especially early game. Fiddlesticks, he can kind of just fear you and bounce, you know, and then drain suck until his laners show up.
The only thing I can do against him is ambush him, so I'm close enough, and then I could chase him down and then not use my stun until he uses his W. That's really the only thing I can do in order to kill him.
I just think it's gonna be like, do you see what I'm saying? Like it's a bit tough to like actually kill him. Like you can maybe push him out, but especially Fiddlesticks actually has a really good early clear.
I think my thought process was to at least try to disrupt his clear, so like I can grab his timers, if like potentially, because that's what I ended up doing was I was able to like.
See, but this play would not work in like a higher elo. No. I think that's what I'm trying to tell you. You know what I mean? Like, because first of all, this guy doesn't know what he's doing because you could just clear both of these at once.
Right.
On Fiddlesticks. So that's like number one mistake just from him. And you also don't have bear stance right now.
No, I don't.
But like it works out, you know what I mean? Like So, but yeah, I still don't think it's necessarily a good play. You get what I'm saying?
I like honestly like I said, I just wasn't thinking, and I didn't know that he was not gonna like. I didn't think he was gonna start blue, but like I should have assumed he did. I wasn't thinking.
Okay, so you just went here assuming that he wasn't gonna be here, kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
Okay, I gotcha. But so now, so from this point, I would take these too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Well, GP was also rotating, and I didn't want to get into a sticky situation, so I just went back to my clear, because he was probably gonna he was basically either forced to back or he was gonna walk over to his wolves, which I don't think he ended up doing at all. So
if you look here, this guy's level 1 still, and your
mhm,
Yone actually has mid prio right now. So this is like a really important time since you're like committing to this invade, right? Like you
right,
definitely want to take these.
okay,
Because the same way that I said Fiddlesticks can't really kill, you can't really kill Fiddlesticks, he can't really kill you either, you know? You can just kind of
sure,
walk away, especially GP too. Like, they're just going to run at you. You have Ghost. So,
yeah.
yeah. It's still fine. Like, I would say the main mistake is just going here in the first place, but yeah. So, you see Fiddlesticks here.
It just worked out because like I said, I had no idea it was gonna be there. Like, what the hell are you here? Doing Gromp level 2 in Fiddles is just like just bad.
Yeah, I agree.
So much health.
So, you're clearing here.
Mhm.
I'm assuming you're going to do 5 camps into Scuttle. Or maybe 4 camps.
I actually no. I think I left my Gromp because Scuttle was coming. Oh no, I left my everything because I saw a bot lane opportunity
Okay.
because they were playing really aggressive and
I like this.
um and I doubt they warded, which they didn't.
Nice.
So that's something I'm working better on, is just my camera control.
That's a very good gank. I like that a lot. The only thing I would maybe change is when you initially walk up, I would be in tiger stance. So you see here, you go to bear.
Uh-huh.
You can tiger into bear. Like, you don't go tiger here. It's just the best DPS. Just if you want to open up, like, because they're 100% dead, right? Like,
Wait, you said tiger into bear, like?
so you could either do tiger into bear, which is like the most DPS, or if you what you did here would bear, which is fine. Bear into tiger, yeah.
Okay.
So bear, tiger, and then phoenix, because it gives you the attack speed. So you're and the dot as well. So yeah, just something small, but that's a good gank. I like it a lot. So you go for scuttle, which is free.
I try to opt for double scuttle here.
Interesting.
Because I mean I knew it would mess my clear up altogether, but I was like, I need to like keep this fiddle pre-6 as much as I can. So I come mid for a quick mid gank.
It's gonna be pretty tough.
Yeah. And I knew fiddle wasn't gonna be here.
Mm-hmm.
And if he was, he'd be, I don't know, trolling or something.
Yeah, pretty much. The only thing that I feel about doing this here is that these camps are going to be like here for so long.
Yeah.
So I don't even know if it's really worth it to get the scuttle.
I ended up taking scuttle and his gromp.
Okay.
Again.
I like that.
So like that's what that was my thought process, and then I would reset, go up to Krugs and path back down again. I think that's what I did.
Okay. It's not. It's definitely different from what I would do.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's necessarily bad. So
I think my main goal was to camp bot and try to keep a fiddle behind as much as possible.
Very good ward. Yeah, I like the game plan. The only thing that I can see that you really don't prioritize your camps very much, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
This game, yes. So like this game, it's kind of like what I did. I kind of sacrificed that for, I don't know, like I thought the last thing I want is fiddle scaling to 6 fast enough and then impacting lanes before. Because like my mid was gonna take forever to scale. My top lane takes forever to scale. It's technically Ezreal.
Yeah,
like,
it's not the easiest lanes to have.
No, so like I wanted to keep him behind as much as possible and at least get one lane ahead, which was bot lane, was my chosen lane this game.
I think you could kill this guy here.
Yeah.
I think.
I think I'll look for it after I get the Krugs, but I don't.
The problem is that like this is the ideal time
pushing.
right now.
Yeah.
So, because personally, if this was me playing Udyr, I would actually be trying to play topside for the early part of the game, especially because you have so much control on the topside.
Right.
And this Yorick is kind of useless in the early levels, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
he
It's
can
like the
just
best time to gank him pre
Yeah.
6. After 6 gets so hard.
And it's actually really good if Cho'Gath gets ahead in this matchup, because it's kind of just a stat ball matchup. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, it's
Yeah.
one of those matchups where, like, I'm stronger than you, so you can't hit the minions because they're both melee champs, right? And they have no escapes whatsoever. So I guess that's the main thing I would change, is I would probably be pathing more towards top here. But it's still fine. Yeah, ganking here is going to be impossible now.
And I'm pretty sure he freezes it. I'm actually not really 100% sure what he does here. Isn't the best push by Udyr.
I think he's
Yorick.
unfreezing it.
Yeah.
That's a huge mistake from him, because Cho'Gath would be forced to TP there.
Yeah.
It's fine. So you're going to do a full clear again, or actually
Yeah.
you never did a full clear, but you're going to full clear now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
I think
What
a
is
full clear-
Fiddlesticks building? He's going...
He went Shurelia's. I think it's freaking trolling.
Actually, no, I've actually seen some Fiddles doing that. I don't know if it's
Really?
good. I always go
I
Rocket
feel like
Belt usually,
Rocket,
but
yeah, Rocket Belt's better in my opinion.
I have seen some Fiddles go for Shrelia though. So
Interesting.
I don't know if it's trolling, but I don't go it. So you
I
see
think that-
Fiddlestick here.
Yeah, so I
level
go to
4.
Dragon right away.
Yeah.
He's going to Wolves at best.
Yeah. And also he's level 4, he can't really do anything to you. So I would definitely hit this just over here. Just hit the blast, the vision, just to see if anything's warded here. Not a big deal though.
I think I took a gamble here. Because
It's really risky that you're balling back here.
yeah.
And you don't have prio here, so it's a bit risky.
The problem is if I hit the Oracle, like it always gives my position away, and that's the one thing I don't.
That's
like.
fair.
And also grabs. As soon as GP wasn't moving any weirdly, or ADC wasn't moving any weirdly in a weird way, then
Yeah.
I kind of knew it wasn't warded.
Yeah,
and I
that's
was able to steal the third scuttle here. So I tried to like keep his Gromp under my belt like the entire game. I tried to, but
Okay, I was gonna say you need to back here.
yeah.
So this is a good. Even though it's a bit messy, I think it was still a good early path. I would have probably picked up tier 2 boots here.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
go
kind of
ahead.
like one of my questions is like the thought process and theory behind like just going tier 2 like at start, because there are some games I just go tier 2 boots first, like before building Bambi, because Bambi's only 25%.
Bambi
and
is so bad. I'm gonna be honest.
It's just terrible to buy it.
It's really. I think that's why the tier 2 boots is like the meta right now, because
Okay.
the main junglers who use them, like Hecarim, Udyr, even like Nidalee to a certain extent, they're very dependent on movement speed. So like just the move speed in general is just a better stat. Like this speeds up your clear speed by like nothing.
No, wait. I think Darkseal does increase my clear faster than.
Probably, honestly, probably. Because like
But
you don't really need the health. You know what I mean? Like
right.
the.
No, I agree.
I don't know if you would go like cooldown boots or Merc Treads this game. It's a decent Merc Treads game. It's a decent CDR boot game.
I was 50-50 on Tabbies or Mercs, and I ended up doing Mercs, and I think it worked out at the end, but I at the end of the game I was like, man, Tabby would have been a lot better.
What's your rune setup?
I
do I see that?
usually go phase rush on him because
Mm-hmm.
the early movement speed pre 30 minutes feels really good.
Yeah. But what's your
and
secondary? I mean.
I usually almost always go Legend Tenacity and
Okay. So that.
Triumph.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was gonna ask. Is do you have tenacity in your runes? Like,
Yeah.
if you do this, I would probably go lucidity boots. To be honest, in this game, tabbies are not bad, but I think lucidity boots are just so good. I don't know.
So I
while
that's
you're.
not a thought process. Like so, like I also main Volibear,
Mm-hmm.
and Volibear heavily relies on ability haste,
Mm-hmm.
for his abilities, um, and it almost doesn't feel like the ability haste on Udyr early like really helps him. I don't know what your opinions are on that, but like I've tried it before and it just doesn't feel as good
Well, Udyr is
on.
very reliant on cooldowns. It's just his cool. It's just you won't notice it very
I
much.
won't notice.
You know what I mean? But technically,
Right.
like your whole kit is just you're spamming buttons. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But the underrated thing about Lucidity Boots is your summoner spell cooldowns that you get
Oh,
lowered.
true.
So it's the smite and the ghost. I
Right.
also want to mention that I think Flash is just better on Udyr in my opinion,
Hmm.
especially late game. Like I find Ghost falls off really hard.
It does. Yeah, it does feel that way.
So I really prefer Flash. Like I don't think this is a bad Ghost game to be honest, because they're all like very immobile. So
Hmm.
it's not bad this game, but if you're running Ghost every game, I would probably like recommend just looking at the laners. Like if you were against an Ezreal and a like I don't know some mobile mid, I would probably just go Flash no matter what. But yeah.
Okay.
See, like now the problem that happens now, because you didn't go top and your top kind of got screwed from the early invade, is this
Hmm.
is gonna be like a sinkhole. Like I could already see this happening. Like this Yorick is about to absolutely dumpster this top lane.
Yeah. That's what ends up happening.
So like I agree with you that going bot usually and like gives you more wins. You know what I mean? Like it's just two players. It's probably the strongest lane as well.
Uh huh.
But I think that you don't necessarily have to like camp top lane or path top lane to influence top, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like there's still windows where you want to be helping out top and mid. Like this mid lane is pretty impossible for you to do anything, to be fair.
Right.
But definitely York, you can influence.
Yeah. There are like certain champions at level 6 I kind of just like avoid.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's a good thought process. Unless it's situational where like I can come up top, like champions like Alawi and I think like Yorick.
Hmm. Like these meatball bruisers that can kind of 1v2.
Yeah. I think sometimes even Darius at 6 is kind
Hmm.
of tough, unless I'm already preemptively in that lane heavily to get to get their summoners. So like lanes like that, you like if I can't get anything in before the level 6, I usually don't try to afterwards, and I don't know if that's wrong with me. Like especially if there's no window. Like earlier there was a window and I just missed it because the wave was pushing
Hmm.
um and I think I tried helping Cho'Gath here when he was super low. I don't remember what happened.
So I the only thing that I don't like that you said is you kind of make it like a general statement, you know? I
Uh-huh.
think it's just very situational, you know?
Okay.
He like a champion like Alawi, for example. I agree, it's pretty damn hard to gank an Alawi that's 6.
Yeah.
But in certain conditions, it's actually pretty easy, depending on the champion that you're playing. Like, let's say this was an Alawi.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably not gank it just because Udyr and Cho'Gath don't have much damage. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so you can't like burst Alawi down and she could just lifesteal off both of you.
Right.
But a champion like Yorick actually has a really hard time dealing with like an Udyr and a Cho'Gath, and you can kind of just run him down because he can't actually 1v2. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
until he has items. Like right now he has 200 health and
Yeah.
a dagger. You know, and yeah. So I think like the general idea that you have is correct. Like those champions are, you have to be very careful when, like you can't just freely gank them.
Mm-hmm.
But there's definitely windows, especially in the early game. Like just because they hit level 6 doesn't mean they can just like 2v1. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
Like a champion like Darius is a good example of why I think in low elo, he's super OP. But the higher elo that you go, he kind of sucks. It's because there's so many windows to punish these types of champions. Like, because they're all very immobile and
Right.
weak to CC. So like you also have a Cho'Gath who can CC chain on top of your Bear Slap, you know.
Okay.
So it's actually like a good. This guy would be 0-2 right now, or at least I would be burning his stuff, you know, not letting him just take the tower. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, cool. So we'll continue here. Your Yone is getting absolutely railed.
Yeah, he's starting to tilt.
Well, his name says it all.
So the funny thing is, you know what the funny thing is this game. So my mid laner was auto-filled mid. He's a top laner. My
Okay.
top laner was auto-filled top. He's a support main, and my AD carry was auto-filled because he's a jungle main.
Interesting. It's one of those games.
So I'm like, well, crap. So yeah. So I was kind of already like handicapped.
Yeah. So here's an example. I really don't like this type of stuff because the main reason is because there's not really that much. Like you have no information about where Fiddlesticks is for the last while, and you also have no idea where anyone is. Like GP looks like he backed, but these camps are just sitting here, and you're basically taking like a coin flip, right, to see if these are up.
Yeah.
Like you can maybe go for Herald here.
So I went to check just to make sure he wasn't there, or if the camps were up, to try to at least like track where he is. So I assumed he's bot side. That's where I assumed he was.
Yeah.
And I saw that GP did back, and that top lane did have prio. So I was like, well, this is probably the perfect time to take care of it if I can.
The only thing I think that I really don't like about it is that, how do I explain this?
I did walk over a pink ward, so he probably just assumed
Exactly.
I was there. So it's just
You
and
could
Hyru
kind of
probably
get punished. Yeah, you could get punished, especially because you have no clue where Fiddle is, and he could technically just walk here, and you guys would get absolutely blasted.
Oh yeah.
But the good thing that you did here is that you did go check at least, because I would have probably dropped a control ward here or like here, so that's maybe one thing I would change. But it's still a not bad. Like once you actually do this, it's fine. Like you can take this. Your top has full prio. You see this guy. Like once you see them, it's a fine play. You know.
Yeah.
It's just kind of beforehand that it's really risky.
And I assumed he has that scuttle. So I question mark ping that. I tend to greet with my control ward to to greet it for like Dragon Pit, and so sometimes my one control word stays in my inventory for quite a while, and I just forget about it. Because it always seems like I'm always the one responsible of getting a control ward for the pit.
I think that there's better, like let's say you want the dragon vision. I think there's better wards to just get more information. Like if you want to put a control ward here or like here, here, like those type of wards, they don't necessarily give you information about the dragon, but they give you information of where Fiddlesticks is and where he's going. So you can kind of like put the pieces together.
Right.
And like the reason I say that is because a ward in the dragon pit only gives you vision of the dragon. You know what I mean?
Right.
But a ward here will let you see if Fiddle walks this way towards the dragon. It'll also see if Fiddle walks this way towards ganking mid or going bot or like here, you know, you can see him coming into his bot side or here. A ward I really like is over here actually. Okay. Because most people don't clear it. Yeah, exactly. And you always walk past it.
It's kind of like the other on the other side, like on the other side of GP, that one control word spot.
Like here?
Yeah, that tends to stay there for a very long time.
I really like putting just regular wards how you did here. Like I think this is a great spot. And also wards here is really good because junglers never go in here. If you're on this side, like walking into this bush is like so out of the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I really like wards in there.
And some games I do notice that I would go back to replay and it's like, man, how do they know I was coming to there? It's like the top lane like throws their pink right there, and it's just a spot that you just don't expect them to do, and that's something that I'm starting to pick up and noticing.
So this is good. I like this ward here. I feel like you like prior. Okay, you do hit it. I was gonna say I thought you weren't gonna hit that. It's definitely valuable hitting those plants just to see what's going on. Your bot lane is pushed up here.
I think the times where I hit it is where like I I know they'll get no advantages of knowing where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's kind of like how I feel. I don't know. So I assume GP knew where it was or something, or at least bot lane knew.
Okay, so this is kind of what it brings me back to the, like, you don't prioritize your camps very much.
Right.
These camps have been here for really long.
Yeah.
And you're still ahead in CS. This is something that I notice a lot in lower elos. It's like, it's technically not the right thing to tell you. Like, I don't want to tell you to just permafarm your camps, but
Yeah.
like, you could almost just permafarm your camps and just win every game because no one is actually doing that. So I think your ganking sense was like really good. Like, I really like this gank ball lane. I like the invades you've been doing, but I think you need to like go to your camps before you do these things, almost, if that makes
So
sense.
like clear my quadrant before thinking about doing anything on
Yeah.
that side of the quadrant.
Yeah, like, so for example here, you see like your lane was pushing into tower right here.
Yeah.
So you have nothing you can do bot side. So what I would have done is I would have done these and while the wave bounces back, and then you can show
And
up
then,
here. You know what I mean? Because now, like, this is very valuable, not just for the gold you take when you kill them, but also they respawn at a higher level. So like, it's actually valuable to put them on like a timer, a respawn timer. I think that's something that not a lot of players think about. That's really important.
Okay.
Because you'll clear these, and then they'll respawn at a higher level. So that's even more gold and XP that now, even if you go and kill them, it's actually worth less gold to you. Especially once the later the game goes. Can I see your Gromp level? No, I can't. Can I just see all?
Fog of War, I think maybe.
What?
No. Click Fog of War on the left-hand side.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
yeah. There you go. So your Gromp is level 6, so it's not that bad. How many times did you kill your Gromp this game? One? I think one.
It's 1 or 2. I don't remember.
So, yeah, it's just kind of like a common theme I've been seeing from like how you play. I think that you're doing good plays, but you're kind of skipping a step. Is mainly what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Like, you want to get those camps in there, especially when you're playing a champ like Udyr, because at the end of the day, Udyr is pretty much a farming jungler that moves really
Yeah.
fast. That's why he's so good.
He just needs items, and that's really the only.
He just farms really fast.
Yeah.
That was.
That surprised me too.
We take it, I guess.
It's like, okay. I think I finally go there.
Yeah, I would be like. It makes me nervous when my camps are up for this long.
I think I felt like I think I felt the pressure of needing to be impactful pre Fiddle 6, that like I went out of my way to try to like make something happen.
Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like.
And I don't know, like I always feel that pressure from like level 6 junglers that they just parse like Evelyn's, Rengar sometime, Fiddle.
I think your priority, like your thought process is really good when you're thinking like, okay, Fiddlesticks, he's like, when he hits level 6, he's gonna pretty much like outscale me, kind of.
Yeah, like Nocturne becomes an issue for my teammates. Like,
But I think that you're almost like putting yourself at a disadvantage because you're like trying to compensate. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because you could have done almost all the same plays, but just had more CS. Let's Fiddlesticks here. Yone's actually kind of slapping that guy. So you get a dragon here.
I got a little nervous here.
Oh shit. Nice. Fiddlesticks goofed.
Yeah.
I don't think you guys win against this dude. Maybe you do.
He had no flash, so I was like, we should probably try.
Okay.
I think he got my shutdown. Yeah, shutdown.
That was kind of worth.
No shutdown.
But this is becoming a huge problem, right?
Yep.
I think one thing that's really underrated when you're playing like a like a farming jungler like Udyr, or just a jungler that has a lot of speed or pressure on the map. So an example is Udyr, another one is Nidalee. They're kind of similar in a weird way. How like they're not necessarily looking to just straight up like kill people all the time. You're kind of just controlling space and really annoying and fast and hard to lock down. And a good, like, because I play a lot of Udyr myself, and my favorite thing to do is to just invade, get vision, and just steal camps and slowly start growing like my zone on the map, if that makes sense. So like you can, because you had control here earlier. Instead of doing what you did and kind of like going back and going to my bot side, I would have just pushed this advantage more by playing around the zone that I had control of.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So like, another example is here, right? You pretty much had control of the bot side. You went bot, you checked around. I would have got some deep wards, and then recalled, did a path from top to bot, and then came back here where you still have the control. And if Fiddle comes and clears it, you'll see him. So you can directly like put pressure on him. You know.
Okay.
It's just something small that I think is like, it's a bit hard to explain because it really depends on what champ you're playing, but
right.
Yeah. This is good here. Mid tower is just the best tower to use Herald if you can.
Yeah, I think the only times I use it top is A, if I have no other choice and that's the closest first tower. B, if I have a heavy split pushing top laner like a Tryndamere, I tend to use a top side. And that's it. I think those are the only like I try to use Herald for mid or bot are the two lanes I usually go
Interesting.
for. I think I tend to like not use heralds even if it's against like the champions like Nasus top.
I think you underrate top lane a lot.
Really?
I think that having a strong top lane is really useful in a game. Like I don't think that you have to just like perma-camp top, but because now this is where ganking this guy is very hard. Like you kind of missed your window, right? Because look, he's got his Triforce to a Bomby Cinder and a Turbo Chem Tank. Now it's gonna be really hard to kill him.
Yeah.
So like I feel like you almost feel this way about top lane because you don't understand how top lane works.
I would agree with that.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I can already get that feeling just from how this game played out, you know?
So I actually used to be an ADC main.
Okay. Interesting.
So
that's why you permacamp bot lane, I feel you.
So yeah. I mean, I think the only like the one of the main reasons I come top is to get Herald ASAP. I think that's like one of the things I come top for the most. Is that Herald at.
I love Herald.
I do too, and
oh, this guy's a monster.
yeah, I also feel bad too because like there's like certain champions that like I really don't want to Herald top against. Like if I Herald top against a Nasus, then you could just free stack under tier 2, or like or like Aurelia or Kale. I just like unless it just makes me like forces myself to play topside even more than I want to.
The thing about that though, I don't really agree. It depends. Like I do feel you on like the Kale and Nasus point to a certain extent. Like sometimes it could actually be not great for your team.
Oh, hang on, I gotta close my door.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, we're good.
Okay. Yeah. So I agree with those two champions in particular, just because they technically just want to power farm and scale up. The thing that you're not taking into consideration though is the amount of like pressure it gives you on the map.
Yeah.
Because what I was talking about before, where you want to get vision and then keep pushing it and choking the enemy out of their jungle.
Uh-huh.
Once you break top and you have an advantage top lane, it's kind of what this York is doing now, right? Like, he destroyed top and then he came mid and he killed Yone, and now, like, look at the map. Like, you see your vision on the map right now?
Yeah.
It's very easy for this to happen if you have a strong top laner. Like, it's not always going to happen, don't get me wrong. Like, you don't want to only go top. That's not what I'm telling you, but I think you're undervaluing it, you know? Because it does have a lot of benefit. Because if this Cho'Gath, you got those 2 early kills on him, or on you or whatever, the map would definitely not look like this, you know?
Right.
Like, your top tower would 100% still be up, and you can play more here. But now you kind of lost this side of the map, so now you're going to be forced to play, like, I wish I could draw on the screen, but if you follow my mouse, like, you're going to be kind of forced to play in this, like, diagonal line across here. It's good that you got mid tower. That helps a lot. So you can play more in their bot side. But yeah. It's almost like a quadrant thing more than anything. This bush is really bugged or something.
Oh yeah, it's very bugged.
Very good. Coming mid here. Yone does not have ult, so this is going to be very tough. Oh, nice. I'm actually very surprised that worked. He has flash, though, so I don't know what's going on there.
I don't know. I don't know. He's been doing weird things all game.
He flashes for no reason and then doesn't flash when he needs to. Like, I definitely would not have gone for that play, but it works out. Oh, God. Your team is getting bamboozled.
I think they start tilting right here.
Yikes. You're doing the correct play to just, like, counter jungle and while your Ezreal's pushing.
Yeah, let's just give him some support.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing too is my Ezreal's gold 2, but this Samir is plat 2. Or something crazy like that.
Yeah. And your Ezreal's auto-filled.
Yeah, my Ezreal's auto-filled too, and I'm like, oh, damn. Yeah, this is definitely a very hard game for me. But I mean, I also helped create the monster top side, so.
Well, it's not like you fed this Yorick, but you could have helped, you know.
Yeah. So
I think that's just something to keep in mind. Your build, you're going Lichbane here. You're the only AP kind of.
Yeah, I went Lichbane this game because I knew we would need somebody to sort of carry some damage until late game, until Ezra turned on, until Yone could turn on. And since I had a big lead anyways, I wanted to at least use my lead in some way.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not necessarily a big fan of the Lichbane build, but it makes sense. Like, I'm not saying it's bad. It's just, I guess, not my playstyle.
And right here, I actually thought Fiddle used his ulti earlier, but then, like, looking back, I think I just thought the particles from Zyra's.
I think he did ult because look, his cooldown's coming back right now.
Okay, so then that's what kind of threw me off because, like, man, his ulti is down here. I could do this.
He's got a ton of CDR right now. Yeah. He's got the ability haste, and he probably has ultimate hunter too. I don't blame you for thinking that it's down here. Kind of unfortunate, actually, because he just gets it back.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens here. Ooh.
I think my Zyra is just playing really really passive here.
I'm gonna be honest. If this was me here, I am not going in there.
Yeah.
I'm saying screw that Yone. To be honest, you know. I'm like, you kind of have to be selfish when you play solo queue, you know.
Yeah.
Oh God.
That's one thing. That's one thing I kind of like struggle with, like depending on day to day, like depending on the day, if I'm like actively thinking about it. If like my laners are in a bad position, it's better just to ditch them than to not. But
yeah, because you also had a shutdown too, you know. Yeah. So it's
I don't know, like a part of me too thinking like 150 shutdown isn't that bad. but maybe it's just me thinking like 150 compared to like 700 or something, and then it's like, oh,
Yeah,
that's not so
but
bad
like
then.
think about it this way. It's like it's 450 instead of 0. You know,
Oh, true.
because yeah, it's just I don't think it's like at all necessary to go in there. Like I'm not telling you to like be a KDA player. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
But like you have to kind of examine the situation. Like who cares if your team flames you? To be honest, just mute them. Because if you're a jungler and you're gonna like, it's one of the hardest things when playing jungle, you know, because you get blamed for everything. So like you
Yeah.
almost get used to just okay, if I'm just gonna go in and just so like my team doesn't flame me because if I like sit back, you know. But
Right.
at the end of the day, it's just not the correct play. It
I
does
think
suck that they got the dragon, but
yeah. I think a lot of my games I end up just muting the chat and keeping the pings. That's what's helping me a lot lately.
yeah, I used to do the same. To be honest, the flame really doesn't bother me anymore, but it did.
I,
It
I
did
think
before.
I think it gets to me like it's 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 a very like fine line because
Hmm.
like I tell myself it doesn't get to me, but if I spend any ounce of time thinking about it, then I'm like that technically gets to me then.
Hmm. No, I get
Because
you
like
there.
because I'm spending time like evaluating what they say or reading what they say, then that's just wasting like
Yeah,
thinking
you're
time.
not thinking about the game. I get you.
Right. So um
Yeah, one
I
thing that helps me is to just like, as soon as I get the urge to like type back, that's when I mute people, pretty much.
that's fair, that's fair.
Because sometimes someone will say something that's like so stupid or like I don't agree with, and I'll type to them and I'll be like, like there's no point in typing to them. To be honest, like it never helps.
I think the point where I ended up muting everybody's chat log is when we lose our first inhibitor.
Okay.
Because I think Yone started flaming me for not coming mid earlier. And
Well, yeah, like
like,
just looking at this lane is impossible to gank, right?
yeah,
Like
especially
maybe if Yone's 6 and GP is like really pushed up, but besides that, like yeah. Also, Udyr is like the hardest champion to kill a gangplank in the world. Like, do you ever kill a gangplank?
all right. He just oranges my E, and there's nothing else I can do.
Yeah, pretty much. So this is fine. Your CSing has like caught up. Like it seems like you're farming more now.
Yeah.
The only thing that happens when you, I don't know if I really want to discuss this too much because it's really complicated, and even like sometimes I have a hard time grasping it. But it's just a concept called sequencing. So like once you get into like an awkward pattern of clearing your camps, it makes your farming like less efficient. So you see now like you're killing this and like these are
Yeah.
up, and then you're gonna have to like it's just yeah.
I call it it's like spaghetti clearing.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And it's like clearing chickens to like gromp and then backing and then clearing like wolves, no, not gromp, krugs, and then backing and clearing wolves to like gromp. It just makes it
Yeah.
like really bad timers.
Hmm. So like that's why I kind of say I like to try and like make a plan in advance,
Yeah.
so I can do a path, or I could do a path and then make a play. So let's say you want to go bot, you make a path here, then you go dragon or bot. Or if you want to go bot like right now or go top right now, you go top and then do that sequence, you know?
How important is that post landing phase?
I think it's very important.
You think so? Okay.
I think it's like one of the most underrated things because it makes you, if the opponent is not doing that and you're doing that, you're going to be like 3 levels ahead.
Okay.
Like I'm telling you my experience of like, because I have a lot of accounts that I like to practice new champions, and no matter what champ I play, in lower elos I kind of just tend to just power farm because it's pretty much free elo, to be honest, because no one farms. Like it's 21 minutes and Fiddlesticks has 118 CS. Like even your laners have like no CS, you know. It's
So
yeah.
that was one of my questions. Like, what is like, I guess what is usually the like expected average CS acceptable for like high elo? Like,
Um,
cause like I
man,
think most of my games I'm averaging like maybe 6, 7,
that's
and
not
that's
bad. It's not bad, and it also depends on the game. Like if it's a really bloody game, it's obviously going to be lower.
right.
I just think that like you definitely want to be aiming for like 8 to 10, but
8 to 10.
you don't want. I don't like telling you just to farm and aim for that number because there's also the plays that you make are more important than farming. Like making plays is more important than farming. I just think that there's a way to farm and make plays in the same amount of time.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
especially if your camps are higher level, then the farm you get is actually more valuable. You know, or if you're counter jungling, like taking a camp here instead of taking your own camp is more valuable because technically it's like -4 CS to fiddle that he can farm. You know, so there's kind of like I think of it almost in like it's a mini objective every camp you can get or every sequence that you can get without getting punished.
Okay.
So like every time that you every time you go into base, what I like to do is just think about like, okay, what objectives are up? Where's the enemy jungler? What are my lanes looking like? Like there's a lot of factors that make you decide what you're gonna do. But it usually ends up in being like make a play, get an objective, or sequence into making a play or getting an objective. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does make sense.
You know, so it's almost like you have to prepare yourself over and over to just like ask yourself that question when you go back to base. Okay, what do I do now? Where do I go? What's my like win condition now? Can I gank? Should I go for an objective? Do I have lane prio?
Okay.
It's tough to talk about these things in like one coaching session because there's so many different factors, you know.
Yeah,
But-
no, I 100% agree.
But it's just the idea that is important, you know, just to think about. Okay, so I think that was good for the replay. Let me just open up the notes that you sent me here, 'cause I definitely want to go over those. And we can talk about the game more if you want.
Oh no. This kind of ties into a lot of the stuff
Sure.
I put in.
No worries. Okay, so I'll just open this up real quick, just in case.
There's a few things I added in there too.
Okay.
Um,
The ones at the bottom, like in the chat. Or...
oh no, I have it. I have some stuff I added extra after I gave you that, but
Gotcha.
I can just ask you. Well, one of them I asked was like CS average. You said like around 8 to 10. But
okay, no,
but
I don't
that's
actually
also a valid
think.
thing, I think.
I don't think it's actually 8 to 10. Like, it really depends, man. Like, it's hard to give. I don't like giving that, but
Right.
I guess
especially for farming jungle, like for like.
it depends on the
Volibear.
jungler a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think on Udyr, like 8 to 10 is like pretty reasonable. I
Okay.
think on Volibear, definitely not. Like,
Yeah,
not
that's-
even close, to be
It's
honest.
way too hard for me to.
Yeah, like Volibear, you're trying to make plays. Like your kit is around ganking and tower diving, and
Yeah.
I play a lot of farming junglers, so that's why like my main playstyle, the playstyle that I like, is like farm heavy, pathing heavy, like counter jungling stuff like that.
Mhm.
Volibear is definitely not the 8 to 10 CS.
No.
Definitely not.
Okay.
Another example would be like Lilia or like Nidalee. Nidalee's kind of in between.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Um,
Whatever you're gonna say.
Oh, I was gonna ask the other thing I said was like, how do you handle like all losing lanes? And like
It's
and
tough.
like all losing lanes and no prio. It's like what I always tend to defaulting like it depends. If my top lane is melee versus melee, then I tend to like go top side and come bot. If my top is ranged melee, I tend to just stick to bot lane if I can salvage bot lane at any point. But I tend to just trying to salvage like just one lane, and I think most games it ends up being bot lane. I have to try salvaging. But I'm also at the same time also getting heavily deep warded and heavily invaded, which is like really hard for me to deal with. And I don't know if that's like, I don't know, the 40% of games I just auto lose, and I don't know if there's like what your thoughts are about that.
So Definitely, don't get me wrong. Sometimes when you have three losing lanes, it's kind of unplayable.
Okay.
There's definitely games that I've felt that before.
Okay.
But I still think that there's like a lot of things you can do. And
Okay.
one thing I like to do a lot is try and like map split away from the enemy jungler, like at all costs, because
So opposite side basically.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it's really important when you're in those games and the enemy jungler like ganks bot that you really try and force something topside, whether it's just stealing their topside camps or like just starting up the Herald topside or something, you know? That's
Okay.
kind of like my way to do it. Because even though, like, let's say they're really snowballing and killing your bot lane and their bot lane's massive, that's kind of your only play. Like, the
Yeah.
worst thing you can do is just go bot and, like, hope to God that they make a mistake, you know?
And I've like, I think, yeah, I think that's one thing I don't do enough. Especially if it's a good jungler and they're still mirroring me, and I have to like reset my sequencing or somehow, or try to get myself to be on opposite sides of him.
Yeah,
Um,
that's exactly it. You have to really, it's really tough. That's one of the toughest things to do, to be honest. But
okay.
it helps if you're tracking the jungler in the early game. It really helps with being able to do that. Like,
Okay.
because in lower elos, I find that even if all my lanes are losing, it's pretty easy to carry if at least if I'm playing a jungler that at least farms faster or like does something better than the enemy jungler. Because
Okay.
so for example, I played a game earlier. I was playing Nidalee against Diana. I was
Uh-huh.
playing. I think my account was plat 2, and the Diana just went bot lane and got a double kill at level 3 or level
Okay.
4, and then literally went to base and then ran bot lane and then got another double kill. So the Diana was 4-0,
Wow.
and I was like kind of tilted. I'm gonna be honest, but I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm just living topside, and I just took her topside camps on repeat, and
Yeah.
slowly like she kind of my bot lane started getting pushed in, and they weren't really able to dive my bot lane. So the Diana just at the end of the day, all she got out of that was 4 kills. I know it sounds stupid, but like I also got quite a bit from just playing topside, taking your camps. I had some pressure on their enemy top laner. I ganked mid 1 or 2 times, and I slowly started like getting an XP lead, even though I was down in gold.
Mm-hmm.
I started getting more of like a map control on the top side. And then as soon as Diana went topside, I had way more information. So it was kind of like I was in the advantage at that point. So then I
Okay.
saw her go topside, and then I went bot side. I kind of just was I was kind of like bean boozling her, you know, like I
Right.
was switching it up on her every time that she showed. And then I got vision in her bot side, and then did the exact same thing when she went bot, you know, and then I switched up to top side. It's kind of like a it's kind of like a seesaw, you know, like
So
that's kind of how I look at it.
so you're not necessarily just forcing a vertical jungle. You're just playing mind games, in a sense, to like
I'm just
basically
I'm just
to like
using
try.
the information to avoid her and
Okay.
take the other side of the map
Pretty
because
much. Okay.
she the thing that benefits me from her going bot side, even if she gets 2 kills, like obviously it's not good for me, but I
Mm-hmm.
do see that she is bot side, so that's like the
Right.
information that I can use to take advantage of her positioning. Maybe those games sometimes you're gonna lose, right? Like
Right.
I'm not saying that like that's the game winning play all the time, but that was my only play. So like you gotta really try and like push that lead, that small little edge that I got. And
Right.
if I fight her, I'm gonna get one shotted, you know, especially in Italy against Diana. So I had to really just use my champion strengths of being very quick around the map. Like in Italy, you can jump over walls. I took Herald, and then she showed on a ward topside, and I sprinted bot and dropped Herald bot to try and like get my bot a little bit back in the game. You know,
Okay. I like that.
I hope that was like helpful. It's kind of like all over the place, but that's my thought
No.
process.
It, I, d- I do like looking back. There are some games that I end up doing that. Um, I think I think the one thing that sometimes prevents me from doing that is like being like deported. Um, and I don't have enough like deep board vision on their side, so I think I just need to invade and just throw a pink down or something. So like I'm assuming you have a scanner at that point, and you're just using pink wards for your deep invades.
Actually,
Yeah.
I've been really liking just. I used to do the drop a ward and run a scanner.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I think I just run wards like
Oh
90% of
really?
games. Yeah. Just I think it's really useful in the farming meta. But I'm not saying that you should do that yourself. That's just personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm always buying pink wards as well. But yeah,
Okay.
I do run the trinket though, the trinket ward.
Trinket ward over scanner.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not telling you that that's. I don't like to say that that's like the right thing because there's challenger
Right.
players going sweeper. So like, who am
Right.
I to say? But yeah,
Okay.
I do like having that, especially in lower elos. I don't know.
Okay.
I think in lower elos it's kind of just better, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I
'Cause-
mean, I think having that like there's been some games where I just don't get scanner until like post laning phase.
Mhm. I
and,
usually
like,
switch over to scanner later. Don't get
Okay.
me wrong, by the way. Yeah.
it's just really helpful during laning phase, especially when I know like people don't ward,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
then
yeah, exactly. Like
I could take
I don't know.
advantage of that. All right, that's fair.
I do also really play like I said, I play counter junglers. So
Mhm.
I do find the extra vision just lets me it allows me to do what I want to do without getting caught much easier than a sweeper. Because like the sweeper, okay, I can use it while going into their jungle and see if I'm seen. So like I have that information. But I find sweepers better if you're looking to gank more than like I'm gonna put a ward at the entrance of their jungle so I could see when their jungler actually shows up. You know what I mean? Because sweeping and knowing if they know I'm there or not doesn't really matter because their jungler could also just show up anyways, even if they don't know I'm there.
So it's kind of like Udyr, who's like if I'm going for more of like a farming game,
Yeah. So like
M tank, then just go like yellow trinket because it tends to I could track better and I can.
yeah, like so when you go into the jungle in the top side, when you find fiddlesticks, you drop a control ward and you drop a trinket, like maybe in the river or something.
Mm-hmm.
It just gives you more information because then you can re-invade and move your vision even deeper and deeper. You know.
Right, and then like junglers like Volibear, who tends to be more of an early game jungler, ganking and
Yeah, I probably would just run sweeper.
sweeper just for tempo.
Mm-hmm. Just
Okay, that's
just
fair.
clearing wards, making sure that the enemy like feels the pressure. Kind
That's
of
fair.
thing.
Okay. And the only other thing I added in here was, I have notes in here. It's like after taking first inhibitor, I feel like my teams tend to throw moments after and lose once an inhibitor respawns. How can I avoid this issue in general after? Like after forcing Baron, is it better to force one more inhibitor before ending, or running into the open inhibitor and ending?
That's a good question.
So,
I do usually, because I that happens to me a lot too. I think that the best thing to do is to just do the less risky, like easier plays, if that makes sense. So like as an example, I would probably just go for another inhibitor,
no
you
inhibitor.
know, and make sure to be spam pinging. Like that's the main thing I would tell you is just spam pinging your team. Okay, not being annoying and spamming. That's probably not the right word, but pinging your team to try and shot call to like where to go next is the best thing you can do. It's gonna happen. It's still gonna happen sometimes when your team's gonna throw. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
I do find it helps. Like when I'm really focused and on my game, I tend to actually shot call my teams better because like I'm just in the zone and I'm like, okay, I ping on the way to the top lane. I ping on the top wave. I'm like, okay, get the wave, push. I'll type like small things in the chat. All these things are helpful if you're like on top of your game.
Okay. That's fair.
But yeah, there's no like
There's no hard, yeah. Because sometimes I get to like the point in the game where like we get two inhibitors down and then we would try to force it down the third inhibitor and then the first inhibitor respawns, which is I mean it's fine. It's like I just feel like I stall the game out too long.
I see what you're saying.
And then like the back of my head I'm like, well, if we're so far ahead and we have Baron, would it be more valuable just to force it down the inhibitor lane that's open? I don't know. Like it's like I know it's gonna be game to game, like game to game dependent. Like if you have a really good siege comp, or like if you have a really, like, one
That's
so
what
on and
that's
so
what I was
forth.
gonna say. So,
But that's like one thing I tend to struggle on, like making those decisions between
I
I think like my mid to late game decisions can be a lot better, and
mhm.
I
Okay, I get you. Yeah, it's kind of it kind of comes with experience too, like
uh-huh.
because that is an underrated part of the game. Like not a lot of people talk about like how to know where to go. I think one
Mhm.
thing that's also underrated is just knowing where to put wards late game to just
Mhm.
kind of choke out the enemy team.
Yeah.
Because that's something that I do a lot, especially on like more aggressive, like not champs like Udyr necessarily, because you can't like kill people if they're face checking. But if you are playing a champ like Udyr, to just run in and kind of like not, I don't know how to explain this. You almost like run into their face, like scaring them off and just placing vision, and it's kind of like a repeating process where you just slowly push the enemy into where you want them to go. I don't know
Right.
if you're understanding what I'm saying, because
Yeah.
it's a bit vague, but
It's
almost the best thing what to do is what I'm trying to say is just put your vision and slowly start pushing the enemy so that they literally cannot leave their base, and that just will make you win way more games because you can take dragons, you can take barons, you can set up bush traps.
yeah. It's kind of like controlling a quadrant
Mm-hmm.
with like if you're trying to focus, like if you have the mid inhib down and you're going to try to go top side, just forcing control over like top quadrant.
Yeah,
And
and then just starting baron or like force or
yeah,
telling your team like, okay, we turn, or
right, like
okay,
a
like
force of cheese or something in that.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. Or like let's say you're on soul point.
Hmm.
That's your whole goal is to just get full control of the bot side so that they literally cannot walk in. And if they do, your whole team is just standing in a bush, or you just burn down dragon on the second that it spawns.
Right. Okay. That's
Like
fair.
sometimes you still will lose by doing all these steps. Don't you know what I mean?
No,
So,
yeah.
but it's just like you want to try and I guess the goal is just to make the chances as high as possible so that you don't lose or that you
Okay.
don't throw.
That's fair.
And
Uh,
sometimes it also helps to just micromanage your team, to be honest. Like you just tell your top laner that's split pushing too far, like spam ping him, like reset. Like these type of things actually do help, even if your team will get annoyed with you.
it, it I've definitely noticed it helps me a lot more when I have them muted and I could talk to them and they can't talk back.
Oh, 100%. Because there's only two options, right? Like they either listen or they just don't listen, and you can't tell what
Yeah,
they're saying.
that's fair. I think that's the only other thing I added on here.
Okay, cool. So I have like 10 more minutes. So you want to just go over these? Like, is there anything from here that you really want to like dive deeper into?
Um, if you have an opportunity to like choose inhib, like getting inhib or getting baron, which one would you choose?
Man, a lot of times I would probably just say Baron.
You said baron. Okay.
If they're both free,
Yeah, if they're both free,
I would probably say Baron.
I think baron. Okay.
In certain cases, that could be the wrong decision, though. You know, like there's always like a situational
Oh yeah, yeah.
thing, but I find Baron is just the XP that Baron gives you is really OP.
That and
Like,
like gold too, I guess.
yeah, and like it gives you like a half a level in late game, which is really important for your whole team. And just the map pressure that it gives you, like then you take the inhibs. The thing with inhibs is that there's so many champions that can just easily wave clear in the game right now. Like most of the
Hmm.
like control mages, and so I guess inhib is probably better if you're against like a Vayne ADC and like a I don't know like a Zed mid, you know, like champs like that who don't really have wave clear. I guess
Oh, okay.
the inhib is better, but in most cases I would say Baron's better. I hope
Baron's
that's
better.
like a
Okay.
fair answer.
That's fair. I like that.
Baron is really good. It's really good. Also, just a side note on top of that, I think that early Rift Herald is much more valuable than Dragon, especially in solo queue.
Yeah, there's some games where I will like give the first two dragons for the cost of Herald first. Um, Especially if they already have loads of pressure bot side and they're padding bot
Exactly.
side and I'm padding
Exactly.
top side. So at least I have, but I think I still end up using the Herald mid or bot if I can.
That's fair. I just think that the Herald immediate power that it gives you in gold is like it helps you snowball a game a lot faster than like a dragon. Because the amount of times that I've just been controlling dragon the entire game, and then we have 3 dragons, and then my team just like is completely useless, and I'm like an Udyr, and I just can't. I can't 1v5 at the dragon, the 4th dragon, you know.
Right.
Whereas if you have that first herald, it's much easier to put yourself in a position, even if you give the first dragon, to get 4 consecutive dragons after. You know.
Right. True.
It's not always the case. Like everything I say is kind of situational, but yeah, I
Right,
just
no.
really like Rift Herald in solo queue. It's pretty OP. Ideally pre 14 minutes, obviously, for plates.
Right. Right. And I think second Herald. I don't know. Second Herald. Do you think is more of a bait than it is a benefit?
It's definitely a bait sometimes. That's for sure. It's not that great if that's what you're asking. It's really not that great, but it could be good because if you're already really far ahead, then second herald is really good because you
Right.
can like break tier 2 mid or like ideally mid again, or if you can get like an early inhib tower. If you like really, I don't know. One thing I really like to do is just set up tower dives, either top or bot. Not usually mid because it's a bit harder. But if you can get a second herald once you kill a top laner with no TP, like you get a lot on the map. So yeah, I guess it's situational, but in most cases it's kind of a bait for how long it takes you for like what you actually get.
Okay.
Like I would almost prefer just full clearing over getting the herald, you know.
Over getting Herald. Yeah, that's one thing I think unless like we're like really far ahead, sometimes it feels almost like this the second Herald is kind of a bait, and I'd rather just full clear. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
I didn't know what your thoughts were. So. I think that's all I really have for now.
So I guess there's one last thing that I just want to mention because
Yeah.
it was in the game, but I didn't really want to like just completely stop the game to talk about it. But
Yeah.
so like I just want to talk to you about what I would have done in
Oh
the
yeah,
early
yeah,
game,
sure. Yeah.
and I think like I don't want to like tear you down because I think you're actually like pretty good and you have a solid amount of game knowledge, which I guess is surprising for that you're only in plat because you actually have a lot of game knowledge. So it's definitely a good thing. I think the main thing that's holding you back is just prioritizing. Like you're focusing too much on what the enemy jungler wants to do, like because you understand what Fiddlesticks wants to do, but you're not thinking about what you want to do to like. Okay, how do I break this down? So Fiddlesticks, you know that he wants to hit level 6 and then use his ult, which is a really strong ult. So that completely correct. And your invade was completely sketch, but we won't talk about that invade. So I think the part that you're missing about that is before Fiddlesticks is level 6, that doesn't mean that you need to force like plays. It more means that you have agency to kind of do your own agenda until level 6.
Okay.
Since Fiddlesticks is kind of... So, as an example, I definitely would have pathed topside since it was Cho versus Yorick, which is the most gankable lane on the map.
Right.
Your bot lane, I would probably only look bot after my first clear, if I do look bot, because, like you said, Ezreal, Zyra is like pretty weak early on. And if Fiddlesticks shows up and Samira and Swain, you're probably going to die. Just that I don't think you win that 3v3. So I definitely would have started here and path top, full clear to Scuttle. And who knows if Fiddlesticks would have started here, like because he did end up starting here, but I think that's just because of Cho'Gath's invade. So let's say Fiddlesticks does start here, but he probably would have started here, but it's fine. So we'll just go back here. So full clear into here. I would definitely look top because, yeah, this top lane matchup is very volatile. I would have dropped a ward here to see what's going on with Fiddlesticks before you start the scuttle. And this kind of starts the sequencing now of like my game plan. So I put a ward here, pressure this because Fiddlesticks can't really contest you. Like you said, like you can't really kill Fiddlesticks, but he can't really kill you either. So you definitely want to look to pressure here around scuttle. You want this scuttle, and your Yone also had priority. So all three of these lanes should be, oh, like not all three of these lanes, but jungle, top, and mid should all be in your favor right now, just by how the matchups were working out. So once you take this, the next question is, okay, if Fiddle pathed here, and you cleared all your camps, your bot side camps are coming up, you can gank top, and then do the exact plan where once Ezreal and Zyra level 4, you just run straight bot lane and gank bot lane. And that's kind of how you put Fiddlesticks on the back foot, because if he does actually decide to match you here, you not only get the scuttle, but you could also just go across. Like if he does show, you could just go across and take the second scuttle. And if not, if he doesn't show, that means that he came bot side, and you would then have time to recall and run straight bot by the time that he's only here, because he would have to do a full clear and then walk to this scuttle. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So the fact that you are a stronger early game champion would put him at the disadvantage that he wouldn't be able to just walk up to the scuttle and take it. Like this scuttle is yours right now.
Right.
You would have the first move on either a top or mid gank, and you would also have the first move on, if he shows here, like he's in a lose-lose situation, because since you're here and you are stronger, if he did path this way, he is forced to, oh shit, I need to turn around and go here.
Right.
Or he would recall, and then if I was him, I would recall and then come here, but I guarantee you he probably wouldn't.
Right.
He'd probably walk. And this gives you the first move to also go back and affect bot lane first with items.
That's fair.
And then it creates another snowball where if Fiddlesticks makes a mistake and he actually walks here and you have items and he shows up here at this scuttle crab, his bot side camps are up. So then you can just run straight from base. If you see this scuttle is taken, or he's like, or it's not taken, you either take the scuttle or you go and look into his jungle.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like this is a bit more of like a complicated. It's not really complicated, but it's a bit hard to explain without like being in game. But it's just understanding like camp respawn timers, and I think that's like kind of what the biggest thing that you're missing is, okay, what happens after the clear? Because the full clear doesn't just end there. Then you're thinking, okay, well these camps are coming back up, and these camps are coming back up if you started here. The same thing goes if he starts here and paths this way and you path this way. So let's say this happens, right? Let's say he does start blue and you start blue. He gets this scuttle, you get this scuttle. If you don't see him here, you come in and you take this, because this is going to be up.
Right.
Or gank top, gank mid, and take this. And put your deep vision. So that's how you assert your dominance pre-6. Instead of like forcing these like random coin flip invades. You know what I mean? Like these are just guaranteed things where you can come in, put down a ward, like literally no one can stop you from doing that. And then you can start controlling. Like I would only start controlling the jungle on the second clear. I guess that's what I'm trying to explain.
Okay.
Because Udyr is kind of shit in the first couple levels, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he is.
So like this is where a lot of junglers in like lower elos start to fall off. It's on this second clear, they kind of start getting lost on what to do. Because it's all about the respawns. Like, okay, where are his camps respawning? Where does he want to be? Because you can also read what he wants to do, depending on what camps of his are coming up. So if he did this clear and he's at bot scuttle, you spam ping your bot lane first of all, and then you look for something topside. And if there's nothing to take, like let's say GP has like full priority, York has full priority, and you're like not sure where Fiddlesticks is, you just put a ward and then you just recall and then you start another sequence. You can go back to base. So let's say all the worst case scenario where there's nothing to be had over here. You just go back to base. You can come here, you look at bot lane, you look mid. If there's nothing and you don't want to force anything, you just full clear back, and you just literally repeat the cycle.
And then look top or mid, and
Yep.
then if nothing there, repeat. Go back.
Yep, exactly. Literally exactly. So you look top or mid again. If there's nothing, you go back to base. And obviously Dragon is always an option, and his bot side camps are also always an option, depending on the game state. So it's almost like every single time that you complete like a sequence, just think about what options there are and like what can give you the most benefit for the least amount of risk. Because these plays that I'm telling you, like this path and this game plan, is basically zero risk.
Right.
I guess the only risk is if like these two lanes are really pushed up and then like I don't know, somehow you face check Fiddlesticks and they all collapse on you before you can get out. But yeah, even then it's like kind of a reach, especially since it was GP in York.
That's actually one thing I never realized. I actually don't look for opportunities before I start my sequence. I look a lot of my opportunities after I finish my sequence. So like for example, if I'm clearing bot to up, I look top or mid, and then I back, and then come back down, and I don't look bot to mid before sequencing back up. And I think that's where I can also improve on, is if there's an opportunity to affect bot lane and on that bot lane or mid lane at that moment, I should, versus piloting Gromp to wolves back up to top again.
The two most there's technically three like important spots to kind of like question what to do.
Yeah.
Like let's say this is your sequence, you're going bot side. There's three important points. So one is like when I'm actually going bot side, like okay, can I go bot? Can I do dragon? Can I go mid? Can I counter jungle? Those are like the four options, right? Or last option, if all those are a no, I farm my bot side camps.
Yeah.
So then the second one, so like let's say this is number one. The second one is when let's say you do clear these camps and you're coming back this way. Can I go mid? Can I counter jungle again? Right? Like now bot lane's kind of out of the picture. Because if bot lane was a yes, you would already be there, you know? So unless there's like an insane brawl that comes out, then you maybe want to go back there.
Yeah.
But then it's like it's even kind of bad at that point. You know what I mean? Like now it starts getting into more of like the I'm really fucking up my own tempo. So anyways, so number 2 is like when you're here, and then number 3 is when you're topside. So like once you get onto your raptors, you're killing your raptors. Is there scuttle? Can I go topside? Is there top gank? Herald mid? It's the same exact thing. Then recall, go back bot side, same thing. If you're starting top like you did, the only difference is that when you're coming out of base going top, it'll be like your first choice, right?
Right.
So like just because you're pathing bot side doesn't necessarily mean that you're playing around bot.
Right.
I think that's something that people get wrong, you know?
Yeah. That's something I definitely can improve on, because I think my mindset is like, okay, I'm pathing bot, so I'm putting top lane on back burner and helping mid and bot, and I think that's where I struggle, especially post first clear. I think that's something I can improve on is looking for opportunities before I start the sequence, midway through sequence, and end of sequence.
So yeah, and that's the main thing that I like took away from your gameplay, is because you're actually like really solid at most points, most things. Like I don't really need to comment on your mechanics. I don't really need to comment on like your gank time. Like all your ganks were pretty good. You missed a couple, but like everything was pretty solid. But it was just that your sequencing was giving you less options. Like the way that you moved around the map and killed your camps, you kind of like forced yourself into a certain playstyle where like the more options you have is obviously better, you know?
So, okay, that's fair. So like, I guess whatever whatever lane I can affect early on, I should pad towards that side first
Yeah.
during my first clear. Since bot lane was Ezreal and Zyra, and I couldn't really affect them that early on, I should just path upwards because top lane's melee.
Yep,
and mid is
exactly.
range.
So like, that's your first clear, right? That doesn't mean that when, let's say, you go top, there's nothing that happens, or there was something that happens. You just recall, and then your bot lane anyways after, because
Right.
now you're back on this side of the map. The
That
two times where you have the most downtime is when you're coming out of base and when you're done your sequence, because now when you're done your sequence, all your camps are down, so you don't really mind just wasting a bit of time like running around.
Okay.
It's the same thing when you get out of the map. All your camps are up, and they're all respawned. So it's not as bad if you go for like a bot gank and then you just go back to your jungle and clear after. What's really bad is if let's say you killed these camps and then you go bot lane after, and these camps are just sitting up here, and the only way that you get to them is pretty much if you recall and come top, because now it's just like your clear is gonna be really wonky.
Yeah.
That's where like a lot of players get stuck, is they don't think about like where they're pathing, so then they end up in a situation where like it's a lose-lose no matter what. Like if there's a bot lane play happening and you want to be going this way and you're like, ah shit, like I could have been there already, but now I need to go back, and then I need to go back.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very spaghetti.
Yeah, exactly, the spaghetti clear.
Okay, perfect. I took a lot of notes.
Good. I hope this is helpful. Like I'm still trying to practice my coaching, so hopefully.
Oh no, I mean it helped me out a lot, especially getting like some insight on like how you think, since you're a higher ego than me. So like it's that way I can like improve on like how I think, and sort of make improvements in where I can, especially that whole the sequencing thing, looking for opportunities in mid, like beginning, mid, and end of sequence.
Mm-hmm.
So that will probably help.
This is like, I saw that you wrote here, where is it? Difference between plat and diamond. I think to answer that question in one thing, it's just sequencing. It's by far the most important thing, to be honest.
Okay.
And sequencing and tempo, which just means like knowing when you have like a certain power on the map, and that is that pretty much ties into this 100%, because like if you path this way and then the enemy jungler path this way, you then understand when the enemy jungler could be bot, could be mid, could be recalled and headed back top. Like these are, it's kind of like a mini calculation that goes on, and with more experience, you'll get even more, like challenger players or like pro players will know the exact like seconds, so like that's the difference between them and me.
It's so crazy because I was like I think I was watching some scrims of Twitch Rivals, and I forget who I was watching, but like they were, I mean, granted they have more experience on like the junglers that each player plays, but I forget who it was I was listening to, but he was basically like giving out like all the jungle routes that this guy would have done if they started topside, and like he was 100% tracking the jungler just by purely knowing all the routes and where they started and how to anticipate everything. It just blew my mind, the amount of in-depth like anticipation and tracking, and that's one thing like I really want to get better at.
That's the most important, like to be a jungler, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's
like, I'm not exaggerating at all. Another thing that helps is just tracking CS numbers. So
I'm really bad at that post
like, first clear.
Post first clear.
Yeah.
It's just the math is like it's too much math.
I think the main thing to just keep in mind is if you do a certain amount of camps, just compare your CS to the enemy's CS. Okay. It's one thing that helped me get out of that. Like I only track CS at the first clear. Because I was the same way, because it does get really complicated after. So it's not necessarily you're tracking like, okay, he did like 6 camps, now he did 7, now he did 8. It's more like I did 2 full clears, he did like 1 and a bit, So like, and now he's topside. Like, okay, maybe his Krugs are still up because
Yeah.
he's like Xin Zhao and he doesn't like killing Krugs. It also is
Yeah.
like champion dependent too, you know. Or if the enemy jungler does like a 3 camp gank, you can see like, okay, he has 12 CS. What camps are probably up? I can look to take advantage. Then you can get the respawn timers, which is just 2 minutes after you kill a camp, and then yeah, then you take it from there. That's like, honestly, to be diamond, you don't even need to like start thinking about that, but that's like where it goes, you know, at the highest level is like really tracking every single camp and sequencing perfectly to make sure that you're ganking and farming as much as possible, like making use of your time.
Yeah. That's the goal this season. Let's get a diamond.
You could do it, man. 100%.
I believe.